Moving day for all of the egg-laying hens and our American breasts and our ducks. Every 2 weeks, it's a chore, but this is a much bigger move, and it's the first time I'm doing a big move like this by myself. Now, I usually do the bi-weekly move by myself, and it's just usually because of how I move their structures. Every 2 days, I inch them closer to the direction I'm going to be moving them. So it's always just a short period. This time, I'm having to move them across a big field area, and that's just a lot of work just for one of them, but for 3 of them, it's really a chore. We've been moving them in this back field. I have them locked in this morning because I need to move them. I set up 2 fences here. I need to put a 3rd fence there because we're gonna start moving them in this direction across this field. I'm gonna have to drag all of these. It's not a big deal when I'm going from one track to another, but I'm having to move them quite a distance that way, so this is going to be very laborious for me today. You can see they have just really torn this area up. It's always a lot more with the egg layers. You can see a difference on how much more they tear up versus the American breasts. They don't really tear up the area as much. I'm working at taking down this fence first. I need it out of the way so that I have a path to move through. And I need this fence to go next to those 2 for the ducks and Kevin's crew. Now, an advantage to that hutch is I can roll right over the fencing without a problem. But with the Siskovich tractor, I have to physically remove that entire fence to get them across that. And same thing with those guys. So I am having to also take down all these fences aside from dragging them across that way. Hey little girl, you still scared? You're in a new spot. You wanna go check it out? She's always the last one to come out. But you see, it doesn't get super messy. I usually just spray off when it seems like there's kind of a mess in here, and I just always have some fresh water in here, so I spend my time in the morning getting them fresh water. And of course their feed. This was the easy group for me to move. The Siskovich tractors are harder for me to move at long distances. I really am gonna just get each group settled one by one, just making sure each one has their water and their feed and all the stuff that they need. This is not easy work. Mister gets on to me when I complain about how hard it is. I never thought it was going to be like easy work, and I'm a hard worker. Like, I've always been a hard worker, but this is definitely something that is not just easy work. While it's hard work, it's absolutely necessary for the goals that we have of our soil. We are really putting the animals to work, really moving them across the ground. They're scratching it, they're fertilizing it, and now I'm starting to work out a pattern, kind of zigzagging across the field. Last year, we saw a lot of that movement towards the front of our property, and the back hadn't really been touched. And we've spent this summer, and now as we're going into fall, really try to get that same type of work on the ground in the backfield. The backfield, it's a different kind of ground. It's much harder. It's much more like concrete. It's a lot of work. Every fence that I move or set up, I'm having to saturate the ground before I can even get any of the posts in. And there's about, I want to say about 14 to 16 posts that I'm having to soak before I hammer them in. And that's just like per fence. I complain about the work, but it's just something that we have to do. Now, for the tough part of getting the American breasts over here, they're much less dramatic birds, and they've been super chill. The egg layers were very dramatic, waiting to come out, but you'll see American breasts seem like really, really chill birds through all of the little changes and moves. They are a lot less aggressive on the grass. They're really great foragers, but moving them is a beast. So I'm not quick to let this group out just because Michael the rooster is also Michael the jerk. I always come in with a net because he's just really protective of his girls. I need to program their doors so that they'll open like normal, and then I'll let them out and check out their new spot. All programmed. What, buddy? You didn't like all that? The girls love this. They keep leaving me their eggs tucked into the sides of the netting. Yep, I got your food and your water. You guys are set. Now I gotta set up fencing and drag one more over. I just got the last spike in. This is the closest I've ever had them to our property line. Actually, this is the back side of their two fences. And I just got this one set up. The last load is dragging that over here, and I'm honestly still sore from the last one. I foresee this tree being a little bit of an issue as I come in here to this space. I'm gonna try to like hook it at an angle, so this is gonna be a little bit of a challenge on this one, but I didn't want to divert the path just because of this tree when I think I can squeeze past it. Are you guys ready to come out? They're still occupied with the grass. Now, one of the things I started doing this summer was I started in each section that the birds were, I was really paying attention to what they were eating, what they were not eating as far as weeds. And I've taken some advice from an old farmer I heard on, I want to say it was the Texas Boys. It was one of their neighbors they interviewed. And he said that as he rotationally grazed his cows, which obviously is in a bigger section, every section that they were in, he would pay attention to the ground and he would pull particular weeds that he didn't want or were not beneficial or the animals were not benefiting from. And that's some advice that kind of planted a seed in me, and I have been doing that all summer, specifically with goat weed and some of the real prickly weeds. I don't have goats here to eat it. I think lambs might. We do have plans to get lambs at some point in time, but at this point they are a nuisance. They do get, the goat weed does get pretty bulky at the stem, and when I'm mowing it's a lot harder on the mower. And then when I'm walking in the field, if it's something that has been cut and my foot catches it just right, it hurts. So that's just some advice that I've been doing section by section in the 1 to 2 week span that they're in each section. So it gives me a little time going towards the end of their first week in the area that they're in is where I really start to notice, okay, what are they eating, what are they not eating? So that's just some advice I would give if you're doing rotational grazing like we are. It's not the easiest thing, but I'd say like 1 to 2 more years, especially after the benefits we saw towards the front of our property in the areas that we had them our first year. I'm excited to see how things are going to look in the next year out in the field. We definitely have more areas, especially where it's dipped down and water collects. We have some soil building to do out there and materials to add, and obviously animal matter is part of that plan. I often say this to people because we're documenting our journey. And to be honest with you, the work is hard by itself. Documenting the work is even harder. And so I hope that you guys just stay patient with us, because we try to truly capture what we're doing and sharing our process, and we just want it to be of value to you. We're in this for the long haul, and it's going to be a long project. If you follow along, you'll be able to see some of the changes that is taking place in our soil. We've shown in some of our videos already some of the obvious changes that has taken place in some of the soil, especially towards the front of our property. If you're interested in seeing the video where we show our first signs of progress, I'll put that off to the side and in the show notes below. Until the next time, thanks for joining us.